to Scale, where I explore the real stories behind visionary leaders who turn the everyday into something extraordinary. I'm Jess, your host, co-founder of Alchemy, lifelong lover of stories, and endlessly curious about the spark that drives people to succeed. Today, I'm really excited to welcome someone whose journey spans military leadership, international consultancy, and personal reinvention. He's the managing director of Like UK, a proud recipient of an MBE, no less, and someone who brings a wealth of experience and wisdom to the table. Welcome, Jay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for chatting with me. Can you give me a little bit of an intro about who you are, what you do, and then I'll ask you loads of probing questions.
No worries. I'm Jay Guthrie. I'm a veteran. I was in the British Army for 28 years. Predominantly a mechanical engineer during that time, along with a few other roles. Went from young soldier, junior soldier, all the way up through the ranks and commissioned eventually for my sins many, many years later. Did several tours of Afghanistan, Iraq, Bosnia, Northern Ireland, and places like that. And when I left the British Army, I went into manufacturing, project management, then manufacturing, where a whole new raft of skills were required. Then from that, I went into the oil and gas industry as a general manager, so I ran a division for that. And then shortly after that, unfortunately, with the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, I ended up setting up a defense company out in Ukraine, based in Kyiv, and I was there for 2.5 years. And I still consult backwards and forwards from Ukraine to UK and along Europe.
Wow, you've seen some things.
I've been about a bit.
You have been back a bit, yeah, definitely. I want to start with I saw a LinkedIn post from you this week where you posted about your MBE and you're being presented by the royal family, and that must have been a huge moment. So I want to find out more about how that happened and why that happened, but also how did you end up in the military to begin with?
So I grew up in a nice little place in Liverpool called Toxteth, in the Dingle, where the prospects weren't the best while we were there. And my grandfather's a very important person in my life. He was a ex-RAF technician on an engineer role. So he sort of suggested that rather than going down the route I was going in, that I should start looking at. Not in the best way, let's put it that way. I was hanging around with sitting crowds and we're the best. But my grandfather took me down the careers office and said, here we are. Originally, I was going to join the Royal Air Force, but the guy wasn't on the desk at the time, and the army sergeant was there, and he's like, "Well, what are you coming in to join, son?" I says, "Oh, the Royal Air Force, like my granddad." And he was very like, "What is it you want to do?" He says, "Oh, well, my granddad said it'd be good to fix aircraft." He's like, "Come over here, you can fix aircraft in the army." So, so I went over there. So I went over, chatted to the sergeant there, and he was telling me all about being an aircraft technician in the British Army. Bear in mind, I'm 16 years old. I've got glasses this thick, terrible eyesight. And he's like, and they'll even let you fly them. I was like, I'm joking. So signing on.
Wow. So that's like nudge. Someone wasn't at the desk, send you in a completely different direction.
Whole sliding doors moment.
Wow.
So ended up joining the British Army as an aircraft technician. Lasted all the basic training until I retraded and decided I wanted to be a vehicle mechanic because I wanted to be on the ground more. So
wow.
And that was 16.
16. Okay. So what happened between 16 and MBE?
Obviously you go through basic training, you learn how to be a vehicle mechanic, you learn how to be, in my case, a very bad vehicle mechanic. Then you get you qualified, you go into your first unit where you learn to be a mechanic properly. You pick a mentor. I was very lucky to have a sergeant, Son Thompson, Tomo, who was took me under his wing in a rough sort of manner as it was back then. Showed me the ropes about being a soldier, and I loved it. I just thrived. Again, needs to get older my childishness when I first joined the
Oh, you
army.
were only 16. How that's not
I was
fair,
16.
that quick.
Well, by the time I got to my first unit, I was 18. So because
Okay.
you spend quite a while in training, and then we deployed to Bosnia. So I ended up going out to Bosnia on a couple of tours during the Balkans incident. I was there for 3 tours of Bosnia over the time. Not a very nice place, beautiful country, but they weren't very nice to each other. Finished that, then went over to Northern Ireland. Started did my first tour over there, which was as an engineer, and then I went back to Ireland on a different role. Finished that, came back straight out to Iraq
Wow.
for Telek One for the invasion.
Mhm.
Um, then back again the following year for a 10-month tour. Finished that. Then I did my artificer course where I did a higher national diploma in engineering, automotive engineering, and then a degree. And then I got posted out to Germany for my second German tour with the Highlanders. We did numerous exercises, preparation, and then we were out in Afghanistan in Muskala in 2008,
Right.
which was a very, very busy tour. A lot of incidents, a lot of things happened. So that was my first real taste of leadership because I was the commander on the ground
How old were
with a
you there?
large. I was 33, 32.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was 33. So I was a young leader. But it was my first, not my first taste at leadership, but my first one on operations as a commander. And we were looking after an armored fighting vehicle called the Warrior out there. There was 15 of them. Quite a few IED strikes. Very kinetic tour. A lot of time on the ground. And it was a bit of an eye opener on what it was to be a leader, but also being able to be an engineer in harsh, austere environments, but also looking after the guys as well. So, I had a very, very good team. But you've also got in the back of your mind that you may not bring everyone back.
Wow.
So we had a few injuries.
That's incredible. So 33, and you're in charge of how many soldiers on this?
Oh, there was you could test me now, 18 soldiers in the section, and along with add-ons
Okay.
as well, all embedded within the armored within the patrol companies.
So you've been through all of this training, all of this traveling, seen lots of stuff, but your first real taste of leadership, you said, with this incident and time,
Um,
like, what was the difference?
there was I had leadership all the way through, from corporal upwards. You're a leader of sections and stuff, but
Mm.
it was more the fact that you're deployed and you're fully responsible for these guys on the ground. All
Wow.
their actions, their training, making sure they're prepared to go out. When you're there, I was also keeping up their professional development even when they deployed as well, because they still got career courses to do. We're out there for quite a while, so
Wow.
sending them back for their promotion courses and the like, and rotating them through, and just an understanding of what the boys think. It's also getting to know the guys as well, so you understand who your team are, who the families are, speaking to the wives before you deploy, the children, making sure they're aware of what's going on and everything else. But also knowing your guys means that you can also tell when they're not right. So if their personality changes or if their mood changes, is there something in the back of the mind, so you can understand, or if they're not performing well, something in the back of the mind that's hindering them. Just
Yeah.
understand their personality and chat to them and see if there is something else going on and see if you can help.
Wow. That's a really interesting point, and I haven't heard it put like that before, in that to be a good leader, you're saying you need to really know your team really, really well.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the key things for any military unit or business or company I've worked for, is knowing your team, knowing your staff, their personality. And it was the same in civilian as in my civilian role with Lucy Electric, for example. One of the guys wasn't himself. He wasn't, wasn't performing the way everyone knows it was. And some of his line managers were getting really upset with him, saying, right, we're going to have to put him on a warning order. And says, well, how long has he been like this for? He says, oh, just a couple of months. Was anyone checked if anything's happening back home or anything like that? So I had an interview, and it turned out he had quite a distinctive personal problem going on.
Wow.
And we were able to help him with that through the business rather than put him on performance management. See if there's a way we can help him that way, and
that's
his performance improved.
Yeah, that's huge, isn't it? If you have an insight into who the people actually are and how you can help them, then the easier it will be to solve the problems. What other leadership qualities or attributes do you think you learned from that time in the military?
Knowing your staff. It's how there's lots of tips and types of leadership as well. It's being able to just one of the things that I was advised, especially by Tomo, was pick a mentor. You see someone who you want to be like, who you think that you could model yourself against, and be that leader. But also look for the bad leaders as well, and learn from them. There's no such thing as there's no lessons. There's always a lesson to be learned. If you've got bad leadership, then you understand what is bad leadership, and I don't want to be like that. So it's kind of trying to develop your leadership role, but it's not just about being everyone's friend as well. It's being able to you're approachable, doors open. The guys trust you; they can come and talk to you, but they also know where the line is as well.
Yeah, there's a balance there. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Nice.
so you can still maintain the discipline as well. You can't be everyone's friend.
No, you can't. No, you can't be everything. I've seen lots of bad leadership styles, also, but what leadership styles have you seen where you have thought that, like, that's not who I want to be and I'm going to avoid that? And you don't have to name frame, but
No, I won't do that. There's the what's in it for me leader.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like, it's about, she wants to do this, this act or this, this project to make them look good rather than it being for the good and benefit of others. They'll only let it happen if it is good. You've got the big shadow leader who'll stand over and just, just micromanage everything,
Yeah.
and be the big boss who wants to stand over and just doesn't let anyone. We call it mission command in the army, where you say, go give the guys a task to do, trust them to go and do it, and use their own initiative and innovation to go and deliver that. And that's one of the things we did in Ukraine. So the culture of Ukraine is very much a authoritarian way of doing things, where you can't make a decision down the line. You've got to ask permission, get permission, and the timeline's just there. So what we were doing out in Ukraine was, as project managers and team leaders, we were letting the guys use their own initiative on the repair facilities or the idea of the project or anything you want to do, and tell us about it. And it's not a case of just get on and do with it without any forethought. It's these are the parameters that you need to work within, but we trust you to get the job done. And the Ukrainians thrived on it. They loved working like that because they weren't asking permission just to change spare parts. The part needs changing, go and change it. Here's the spare part, go and do that. It's that sort of leadership where you got your mission command, you let them use their initiative and be part of the solution as well. It's their part, because it's all about cultural change within bringing our Western ideas into a Eastern European business like that. It's a big cultural change that they need to manage.
That would be challenging for anyone, I can imagine. From that military background, then, what was the pivot into where you are now, and what are you doing now? How did you get here from that career? And also, I'm not letting you get away with the MBE question because you haven't got that far.
So without just killing mood, I was medically discharged for PTSD.
Right.
I had several very rough tours.
Right.
And it wasn't just the tours as well. There was other things they see just on day-to-day stuff when you're going into third world countries and the like, and you see the impoverished and the like. So it's sort of just built up, and soldiers are very good at compartmentalizing. But everyone knows the cup analogy. Eventually, the cup becomes too full.
Yeah.
And my cup just overflowed.
Wow.
So so it was a medical discharge, and it was just a complete rebuild on where I was going to go and what I was going to do.
And what life was going to look like. What
Very much.
did you take anything from that experience of the overloaded cup on, like, or is it just such a different environment that you can't compare it to like anything else in life or career? Like it was just too much for you to process at that time.
Well, I didn't know it was at the time.
Mm.
That's it. Everyone saw me as this, the normal jovial Jay. I was always one of the loudest in any corridor that was there. They could always hear where my office was. Even when I was on the ground, out with the guys, I was always there, not the life and soul of the party, but I like to be centre of attention. Um, so no one ever saw it, and I never saw it myself. It was just the snippets where I knew something was wrong, and it was only when I decided, when things had gone too far, that I reached out and got some help. And that's one of the hardest things for soldiers, let alone, men, let alone soldiers, to do, is
Yeah.
to go and seek that help. And that's something that I'm a huge advocate of now, mental health and the like. And one of the first civilian courses I ever did was mental health first aid training to understand that. And it was good to be able to help people on the course to understand where you are in your journey as well.
Yeah. Wow.
But
So
it was very strange to have your whole career taken away from you. Because I didn't really have the intention of leaving the army ever until I retired and and straight onto a pension and go and live in Bali. But
you weren't planning on, you would have stayed, you would have carried
yeah,
on doing what you were
yeah,
doing.
yeah, it
Wow.
just got to a point where, well, it's kind of, you can't even institutionalize, 28 years in the army. I've known nothing else. So I knew nothing else. So I was from being a young 16-year-old all the way through, the army was my life. It was my
Yeah.
family, it was my career, it was everything.
So that time then, during that period where it was a case of what am I going to do now? I'm assuming those are the questions you were asking, or did you already have ideas
Oh God,
and plans? No.
not a clue.
That must be terrifying then, really.
It was. I mean, it's a very cloudy period in my life where I didn't know what I was going to do. Didn't have a clue. I was very lucky in one of the roles that the second to last role I did in the army. I was the transition officer for the corps. So my job was to go and help industry understand what service leavers can bring to the party, what they can bring to their businesses. So I used
Why?
to engage with the civilian sector, set up job fairs for soldiers, service leavers, going through CVs, chatting to companies, say, right, these are the soft skills they've got, and translate from what their CV from army over to civilian, and how
Yeah.
the transition is going to be. So I was helping soldiers transition into the civilian world as well. But I did have an understanding of what I could do and where I could do.
Mm.
But I just didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up.
And you grew up. I suppose it would feel a bit like that, wouldn't it? If you'd been there
Yeah.
for so long and now it's like, right, I have to completely change my life. When you were doing that transition work, then you were essentially selling the skills of these people, weren't you, into people's businesses? So what sort of, values and perspectives and skills were you touting almost for businesses?
Well, you've got the work ethics.
Mm.
Every soldier's always, not every, most soldiers are, trusted to get on with it. They want to strive to succeed. They want to do the best they can. They want to make sure they achieve. They don't like to fail. They're driven,
And
well-driven guys. Leadership's there. So you've got a wealth of leadership training the whole way through your career, from a junior soldier through your junior cadre, your senior cadre, your warrant officer cadre, officer cadres. So you're constantly doing leadership training all the way through, and you've got that experience where you've got teams that you're looking at, and you're completely immersed in it. Leadership roles. It's full immersion. It's not a 9 to 5 job where you come in at 9 o'clock and then at 5 o'clock, that's it, work's finished. So you've got, your orderly officer to do, you've got your parochial stuff, especially at the training establishments as well. You've got, 18-year-old soldiers running around, so you're going to have to look after them. You've got the career management, understanding the families as well, and deployment. And when you deploy, you 24/7, you live in each other's pockets. So you've got that leadership knowledge and the ability from it. And then you've got, the team building, the teamwork, everyone's looking out for each other. You've got that sort of mentality. And it's an easy sell.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And isn't it hearing you say all of that now, it makes my brain go, like, every person who starts a business and wants to lead a team almost should go through this training. But because
100%.
they don't have that training. They don't know how to build teams and cultures and lead with, purpose and, inspire people. It's not ingrained in everyone. Not everyone has that training. No, at all.
No, they don't. So whenever I, whenever I started working in businesses, I'd always bring that in and, explain to them what we can do, how we can do that team building and, how we can develop a team and try and lead from the front. And try and understand everyone's jobs as well, so you understand their frustrations and be part of the solution with them.
Interesting.
It's all of that, and that's what soldiers and military officers bring in. Well, most military officers bring in.
Most military officers. I love the way you are saying that. Very most.
No, I was very lucky when I was in the army. There was very few that I didn't. I didn't look up to.
So what did you do when you grew up? What did you decide?
Well, I haven't yet. That's the thing. It's kind of been it's still a crazy year because I'm still only 5.5 years out of the army. So it's still, ingrained into me. It's, I've not bounced around a bit. And most soldiers do. They bounce and bounce and bounce. They do a year here, two there.
Yeah.
But it's unless you're very lucky to follow something very niche that you're into, because within the military we post every 2 years. So you do your job, and then 2 years later you're like, oh, where am I posted next? So you've got that like nomadic sort of lifestyle where you're moving over and over and over again. So when you get into civilian street, unless you fully settle down, you've got kids in the same schools, everyone's settled, it's very hard to settle because what's next? Because when you go somewhere and you've achieved it and you're doing well at it, you say, what's my next challenge? What's my next challenge? Which is a double-edged sword, really, because you're very driven. You always want to achieve, you want to deliver, but also you're looking for the next challenge. And if you've got to be lucky enough to be able to in that position as well. And soldiers can't understand why they promote very quickly when they're in civilian street.
Like, why am I still in this job? Like, what's happening? Yeah. I think that's probably a really good trait for any business owner or entrepreneur to have, right? Like, what's the next thing? Do it really well, execute it really well. Yeah, and then move on to the next challenge.
It's what makes them good planners as well, because you've got the whole strategy of it, of where we're gonna, what we need to achieve now, but it's always the so what, second, third order effect. It's when I achieve this, what else is it going to impact, and what do I need to do to look forward to that as well? So you can future proof your decision making, you can future proof your strategy that you take and how you're going to deliver over and over and over again.
Wow. So many skills you bring into the world of business. So what is it that you do, and how did you said it's only been about 5 years, but what was the spark, or did you wake up at 3 a.m. and said, I know what I'm going to do? Like, what was the pivotal moment?
So I've been very lucky in my with my network as well. So when I left the military, I did a short-term contract with a company called Jacobs, where I was doing project and program management. So another good thing about the military as well, they leave with a fantastic resettlement package. So they put me through APM, PPMQ, MSP, so fully qualified program manager. So I was doing that. So one of the big things when soldiers do come out is that, so I'm a project manager. Brilliant. What projects have you run? None, because it's not really a project as such unless you go to Abbey Wood or something like that. So it's coming out with that a raft of qualifications, and it's just the experience side within civilian sector that people struggle with. So I went to a defence company, did some project management with them, and then from that, I decided, do I want to be in defence all the time? I've just left the military and I'm parachuted straight back into the military life with, all the same people I used to work with, all the same people I was posted with. We're just wearing suits now rather than green army uniform. So I was like, I need to change. I need to take a step away just for my mental health, but also to challenge myself a bit. So I work for a company called Lucy Electric UK, who do secondary power distribution systems manufacturing. So your package substations, little when you see new build estates and you see the little green box with
Yeah.
the power cables coming out of it, we used to build them.
Okay. Okay.
So
I need
yeah,
to.
so we were building them, and my old boss was my new boss. So he knew me, a guy called John Edward, amazing mentor, and he filled in the gaps that I didn't have. So leadership, I could do. Management of teams, I could do. Understanding the process and process engineer, I can do. But funding, P&L, all the stuff that we don't have to manage in the military, because it's not an open checkbook. But you don't look at the figures; you just get the job done. It's being able to plan and strategy and bring that sort of stuff into it as well. So I worked with him for 18 months doing that. And the only reason why I left, really, because I was the operations manager. And the only reason why I left is an hour and a half commute there, an hour and a half commute back every day.
Oh.
So, getting up at 5 in the morning and getting home at 8 at night, which isn't an issue, but then doing all your catch up emails when you get home. It
Wow.
was, it started to get a bit of a grind. And then an oil and gas company came over and said, "Do you want to work with us?" And I says, "Oh, it depends where it is, mate." He says, "Oh, it's this address." And I was like, "Oh, that's 7 minutes from my house. Sold."
Nice. So I've done all the traveling I want to do in my life now. I'm staying. Yeah. 7 minutes.
Yeah. So I went away for the oil and gas company, and I was the general manager for the division. We were doing the fiscal engineering, fiscal metering for the skids. So your fuel delivery systems, where the fuel tanker goes in, fills up, and then goes to the petrol stations.
Mm-hmm.
We used to build the skids and the fuel distribution systems, and then monitor them. So team all over the UK. Managed them, and then on top of that as well, I saw an opportunity where we could buy one of the companies the guy was retiring. He was one of our suppliers for the fuel lines. So I was like, brilliant. What are you going to do with the business when you retire? I says, "I'm just going to let it fold." It says, "Well, let's take that over." So we're able to reduce costs, be able to reduce what we're going to be. Our outgoings is we can monitor the quality of the goods as well, and it makes sure that we've got all the stock here, so it reduces our timelines as well.
Nice.
So I ended up talking the CEO into buying a company. Luckily, there was money in the company, so my first ever purchase of a company as well. So I got to understand, the legal side of it, the financial side of it, and we were able to take it with minimal cost to us. And it allowed the guy who's retiring to keep the money and have his retirement fund as well. So he actually achieved something from it. We got to take on that product. So we developed that as well, and then after a year, it was just a case of the challenge wasn't there anymore.
You were bored. Is that what you
I
mean?
wasn't, I wasn't bored. It was just that there was no growth there, and I was banging the drum constantly. I bought you another company. Can we have some more money so we can grow and do this and this?
Yeah.
And it just wasn't in their strategy or their plan. So I was like,
Wasn't it?
yeah, I think our time's done here, isn't it? And he's like, "Yeah, I think so." So I left on mutual terms. Thankfully, wasn't sacked, but we left on mutual terms, and so I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was still helping veterans find jobs, going through the CVs, being able to help them find new roles. I'm still an ambassador for one of the veteran charities. And while I was trying to find out what else I want to do, a former colleague says, right, because Ukraine had obviously just happened. He was doing the communications fits to some of the vehicles going up there. He says, I just need someone to give me a hand. And I was like, brilliant. So I went over to Belgium, all the MO13 armoured personnel carriers that were there. I just fit in comm systems. Felt like I was actually doing something for the Ukraine effort. And then while I was there, a company called ANS said, "Can you help us set up another entity?" I was like, "Brilliant, yeah, where?" He says, "In Ukraine." I was like, "Yeah, sold." So said, "Okay, I'll do this." So turned up in Kyiv with a suitcase, no network, no nothing.
That's not 7 minutes from your house anymore.
No, it's not. We won't go into the divorce bit, but it was just a happy period. So yeah, I got an opportunity to do that. Obviously, personal things had changed, so I
Yeah.
was like, well, why not
New
go and
advice.
do this? So, yeah, new adventure, completely new adventure, and so it was in 2022. You know, the invasion's not long started, and I'm stood at the Polish border with a suitcase, wearing chinos and a shirt, proper officer dress. Everyone else was like, oh, "What are you doing, Jay? Why are you dressed like this?" So I turned up, got on the train, travelled into Kyiv, didn't know anybody there, didn't
Wow.
even know, couldn't even pronounce the currency. Um, Went to the hotel, managed to organise a taxi, turned up at the hotel. First night there, all the drone strikes started. Looked out the window and there's policemen shooting at drones with automatic weapons. I was like, how have you got yourself into this?
Wow.
Um, well, yeah, and then from that, just built a network. It was quite eerie in Kyiv at the start because there wasn't there wasn't that many people there. It was mainly police and spooks,
What
and
about for your like mental health from everything you've been through and suddenly you can hear those noises again, like
so it was never the big bangs that bothered me anyway. So that side of it was never too much of an issue for me. It felt comfortable. It sounds bad, but it just felt comfortable.
mm,
You know, it's what I kind of used to. It's what I've you know been in the military listening to for all that time. For me, though, it was the isolation that was the hard part because I was there by myself. You know, there wasn't a network yet.
mm,
But then I started building a network. There's a lot of ex-military out there. There's a lot of people who say they're ex-military but probably weren't. Just trying to build security intelligence companies and the like. But nobody was there to do engineering, so I was the first one there to set up an engineering company.
I just
Um,
want to pull you up on something you just said then because I think it's really you said I just started building my network like it was nothing, like, and you've mentioned a couple of times where you were in other situations where you had a network and contacts you built from that career in military, and then you went into defense, so you had like people knew there. This is different though. You're in a different environment, country, different, doing something completely. So how do you just start building? And I'm trying to relate this back to if you are someone who has started something brand new, somewhere different, maybe feels a bit isolated. How do you start just building a network?
so, a few former colleagues were out there in the security intelligence world. So people I've worked with in the past.
Ooh,
But one of the big things is LinkedIn. You know, there's a lot of people were putting it all over there. They're in Kyiv. I never did because I didn't want anyone to know I was in Kyiv. Um, but yeah, so they it was going on LinkedIn. Anything that we mentioned Kyiv, see who's there, see if I knew them, see if they're in my network or if they're in my extended network, then just touch base with them. Or there's only so many places and coffee shops within Kyiv and bars that you can go to, and you're always gonna hear an English voice, and I'll talk to anyone. So I
amazing.
just
Okay.
started chatting to them, and then just built it from there. And there's a few other agencies that are out there that I can't really discuss on here, but I knew some of them from in there, so they can do the intro as well. And
Cool.
the company that I was working for, they had a few contacts themselves that kept coming in and out. So AMS had a one of the owners actually already, so bear in mind it's a defense company, already owned a mushroom farm in Ukraine. So we already had a slight a way in, but that was on the the far west coast, the far west border of Uzhhorod. But
Wow.
we were able to build an entity quite quickly, but just developing the Kyiv network was key.
Brilliant. Okay.
And building the trust as well. That was the hardest part, and
Did,
not just with the network. It was with the Ukrainian companies, Ukrainian government, the MOD, Ministry of Defense, the certain ministries as well. But being there right at the start, you kind of build that credibility and the reputation and the trust. So I
mm.
was able to do that.
So what do you do there now then? How have you got such important relationships where you have got that trust? with organizations like that? What is it that you're doing that's making, an
So
impact?
we built the trust because we would, I helped set up the company that actually delivers something. We were actually they were actually repairing military equipment for the Ukrainians. So much so it earned me a nice Russian sanction. so so sanctioned. Yeah, we got sanctioned by the Russians last July. Just means I can't travel to Russia or India or China or most of the places you wouldn't go anyway.
So you were like, damn.
Yeah, so good. But it just built credibility again with the Ukrainians. They thought it was great. And now I work for a company called Like Global Advisors, and I run Like UK, the UK entity, and we help UK businesses, European businesses, American businesses, with market entry. How to set up an entity there, how to develop network. We do something called the Gateway Program, where we can bring a company and set up the entity and then just run their front of house. So we mitigate their risk for them, make sure that they're comfortable that they've got an entity, and if as a project comes in, because one of the key things with Ukraine is you've got to be able to show that you're going to be part of their economy. You're going to be able to have an entity where they can establish themselves. They can deal with, do joint ventures with as well. So we help companies set up that entity, but then we'll run front of house for them, so we can do all the engagement for them. And then when they want to come into Ukraine, we introduce them to the right people that they need to speak to, and make it a targeted visit, so they're not there for a week just bouncing around random people. They're there to meet XYZ for XYZ. Because I was helping out with a few of the trade missions, and Department of Business Trade did a fantastic job bringing people in. But it's the follow up. It's that you lose that traction. And what we do is we do the follow up for them, and we just keep the dialogue going to make sure that once they've got that momentum, the momentum keeps going. So as the project lands, well, for UK government pays them to deliver a project in country, they've got an entity there that they can use as a vehicle to be able to deliver it. And then we give them intelligence on what's happening out there, where the risks are, potential joint ventures that they could use, so they're part of the Ukrainian defense industry as well. So it's that's what we do. We don't just do it in Ukraine as well. We do it, globally, Eastern Europe, Africa, places like that.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I'm quite lucky because the company itself, it's founded by two former chiefs of staff of Congress as well. So both Republicans. Yeah, but
I get that bit out, should we?
yes, please. But yeah, so I'm very lucky with the company because two former chiefs of staff who know the geopolitical mindset of the Americans, and all their partners. And one of the guys is an investment banker as well, so he's he understands where the funding is. I think I get loads of advice from them as well, and I'm learning so much, because it's all well and good making it to managing director, but you've got to still learn as well. You can't know everything, so being able to still develop professionally is another key driver of mine.
100%. Yeah. Continuous learning and curiosity, I've said it before, is one of my favorite traits in a person. If you can have the ambition to go off and find out some information and learn more about a subject that you're interested in, and apply that, is a brilliant trick. You've built your network. You've just went out and built a network, and now you're building other people's networks almost by making those connections across the globe. Why is what you do important? And I don't mean that sound mean, but you know what I mean. Like, talk to me like a 5-year-old who knows nothing about this. Why is what you do important? What impact is it having, and for who?
Because you're making a difference, not just for the company itself and helping their growth. You're helping Ukraine. It's a harsh reality of what's going on out there. Since the invasion, their whole lives have been turned upside down, and they're developing. But the good thing and the positive thing is their development and innovation has gone through the roof. So it's not a case of the Western countries putting all their technology in. This is the Western technology; it's better. They're now taking some of that innovation out as well and improving our defense networks and our defense industries and everything else. So there's that a bit of give and take now, where at the beginning there's lots of stuff going in. Now there's stuff coming out in Ukraine. It's making a difference to their economy and their defense sector, but also the UK side as well.
Wow.
And it's also the realization politically that, the world's not that safe. It's we've sat on our laurels for quite some time now, since the end of Cold War. Defense spending's gone down. Armies have got smaller equipments. Everyone thinks they're going to be fighting in the desert forever now, and it's quick reality. Bang, we're back to conventional warfare with tanks and hands on the ground fighting sort of thing. But now drones have come into it, and how you've got a completely different battlefield where you've got the old school tanks, tank on tank battles, you've got trench warfare and everything else, and then you've got new innovation of FPV but drones and that, and so your tactics change, and being able to learn from those tactics as well.
It's interesting.
And a lot of the Western,
sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so a lot of the Western equipment that's gone in there as well is it sounds very mercenary, but it's a proving ground for them as well, to understand where they're failing, for if it does expand, or if it where we need to improve our defenses.
And how has Ukraine, accepted this part now of, businesses coming in and new technology coming in? Is it all received positively, or has there been some stuff that needs to?
Yeah, I mean, they want to keep it Ukraine. A lot of the companies, when you go in there, it was very difficult to get the first project off the ground, because they said, "Oh, we're doing this ourselves. We just want money. We just want spare parts. We just want this." And trying to work with them to understand their culture as well, and saying, "Well, actually, we're not here to take business away from you. We're going to enhance your business." And trying to not sell it to them, but be part of the solution, especially with some of the equipment that they couldn't repair. It's technology and special tools, testing equipment that they haven't got. Then we can come in and help them develop that. But it's now that they understand that we're always involving Ukrainians within the company and the business solutions. It's the knowledge they're gaining from it as well, and how we're helping them develop in other areas, like I said, project management, mission command, and innovation, and initiatives and the like. So, and that's what I really enjoy doing, is the fact that we're actually giving something. It's not just a case of we're going in there to make money off them, which not every company's doing that, but that's in some cases one of their mentality. It's being able to be part of the war effort. It's being part of helping Ukraine stand up against the oppression that they've got.
Does it feel like you're in the right place, like from where you've come from and all your experiences, and you've went and done other things, but you kind of sat in not in a similar space, but you're still contributing?
Yes. It's like you say, I was institutionalized. It's all I've known as military. It's just, I'm lucky in the fact that I've got my my engineering head, my military head, my military intelligence head, as well as now business head, and being able to develop it. And I've had really good mentors along the way, to the point of I'm actually helping give effect for the UK government and advise the UK government when they come in as well. Right at the start, I was within working with the Department of Business and Trade, Defence Security Export, saying to them, well, this is how it actually is on the ground. Working with the British Embassy as well, getting to understand from their field as well, because they're permanently there. It's building that knowledge base for myself, not just for business as well.
Yeah.
Because again, it's going to be a big key part of history, and it's cool. It's pretty cool that I'm part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there some conversations that you kind of wish were being had around the military career that aren't being had? Because from listening to you, the education, the skills, the leadership development, and I know that there are veterans charities for a reason, but everything you described, there's no reason why these people can't walk into any job or start a business based on what you've said that you come out with. Is there a conversation you wish was being had around perhaps more people going into the military to develop themselves that way. I'm trying to put it in a nice way, but there was conversations around everyone should, have some sort of service at some point when they were young. There was,
Yes.
rumors of that happening.
Well, well, in the 50s, you had, 40s, 50s, you had national service. So
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
it's made a difference to my life, but it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The culture's changed right now. Generationally, we were even before me, very much a focused, behaved, trust your, respect your elders, that sort of thing, and some of that has eroded away.
Mm,
But I think that if some of them went into the military, not everyone would enjoy it, and it'd be detrimental to them. It'd put them back a bit.
yeah.
So you've got to have that drive to go in there, and it affect the forces as well, because like you say, it's culturally, it's different now.
Mm,
If we bring, you've seen Bad Lads Army on the TV, and you're just like, oh god, and
well,
that was 20 years ago. So now we've got a new generation.
yeah.
Um, it'd be detrimental to the army just to force people to doing it. Although, if God help, God forbid it ever happens, if there's ever conscription, then
Yeah.
they might not have a choice.
No.
But
Mm,
it's the army is a professional place where you've got to want to be there. I know you don't want to be there, get found out quite quickly, and the don't last very long within the roles.
yeah. Yeah.
It changed my life.
It's hard to, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe someone can correct me, but it's hard to see where that level of, teamwork, leadership, camaraderie, that whole, and the discipline that you get from that experience is being taught anywhere else at the minute. And they're all important skills, aren't they? Just as much as, your science and your maths.
They are. I mean, like I said at the start, I grew up in Toxteth where I was hanging around with the wrong people, but we did have a hierarchy. We did have trust in each other. We did look after each other. We had teamwork, even though it was for bad things, but
Mm,
it's for the wrong things. But that is there. It's
yeah.
just a case of being able to harness that. And if you'd asked me 20 years ago when I was still in that, should we have national service and start bringing kids off the street and start giving them discipline and some drive and everything else, I mean, yeah, definitely is that. But as you mature and you understand, start seeing culture, and you see you're more read in, because don't forget, in the army you're very laser focused at being a soldier, and it's the best thing, and we're the best at everything we do, and
Mm,
we change lives. Once you're out and you see the sphere of reality that's out there, you think, I don't know if you could do that with
mm,
the people that are out there. So
yeah.
it's it's a unbelievable career, but you've got to be 100% in. You can't just go in just for oh, it's
Yeah.
a job. I couldn't get a job in the city streets. Once you're in, you want to. There was there was people who just guys that just joined the army, and they just plodded through. They had a happy career. They promoted to a point where they needed to promote. They got a pension out of it, and then they left. But it's just but without them, you can't shine. You got to look better.
Yeah, absolutely. What other, we've talked about, leadership and discipline and teamwork. Are there any, core values or skill like that you've taken with you from, well, your entire experience to date, really, into, your role as MD now? Like what
Yeah.
are you still using?
Core values. And so I'm a cadet instructor now as well. So I have to do these. So I help with the army cadets.
Oh, wow. Can't leave it alone.
So
Teaching and the mentoring.
well, it's giving something back, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's exactly that. It's humility. It's integrity. Don't do something that you'll regret. One of the key things, one of the big things in Kiev, and one of my first chats I had with one of the guys I know. He says the first strapline that he got from the Ukrainian MOD was, "We're not as corrupt as we used to be." So you're like, so you kind of think
Why?
you still are. And corruption is still there, and the government is trying to stamp it out, but it's having that integrity to not be dragged into it, just to get that project or to win that thing is, you've got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say,
Yeah.
I don't feel, what I've done is wrong. So it's taking that integrity through as well, honesty as well, being honest. Um, if you come to lying to people, you get found out. So especially when if you lie to the team, you lie to the bosses, eventually you get found out and thrown under the bus. So it's honesty, integrity, and courage. Yeah, but I'm not about going off to a war zone again. It's about courage in your convictions, being able to see right and wrong and pipe up. That's something I've always brought in. But also looking after you guys. If the guys are happy, they perform. If they perform to make you look good, you look good. You look across and down, not just up.
Yeah.
Yes, you've got you've got your direction where you need to be, your strategy, but look after the guys. Well, make them part of the solution. Bring the team in. You can't be the good ideas club. You can't have every best idea. Just get the ideas from the guys, and then recognize the contribution to it as well. Don't just take credit for you guys' work. It's obvious what will happen from it. It's always a team effort. It's never just one person.
Always a team effort. That's
Yeah.
really true. Really well. How do you define success in your role today as it is?
Making a difference.
Making a difference.
Yeah. Obviously you got the monetary success and everything else, and the solicitor and accountant like to keep on top of me about that. But it's the success for me is making a difference and being part of a good solution. Bringing a team along. It's not just about you, and it's not just about you. It's about the team that you bring in as well. Whether you're a standalone job, but your client is still part of your team, so it's helping them perform, giving them a good result as well. It cascades down. So that's success for me is making a difference.
I love that. Is the do you have say an input into recruitment for your team and who you bring into your team now, and how important is liking who you're working with, especially from the background on?
So I said I wouldn't swear on this, so I'll tell you.
Yeah, hi.
I'll tell you what I'm saying. So nobody wants to work with difficult people. I'm within Life. We're very lucky in the fact that everyone has a veto. You may get on great with a guy, but someone's knows something about them more. One of the ladies that's coming in is not the right one. It's going to be a good fit. So the team has to work. And you don't have to be the best at your game, but you're bringing in knowledge and being able to work with, and you can help people develop. So it's great to have all the best people in, but you can use a football analogy. If you've got a load of Cristiano Ronaldos in the dressing room, the egos are going to be fighting each other, aren't they? So it's bringing people in that can work together is much better than just bringing in people who are very, very good at the job, but their personality sucks. It's it's being able to build a team that can work together, and work together well, get on, and then they'll perform.
Yeah. So, how do you put that into action then? If everyone has a veto, how does that work? Does everyone interview everyone, like in practice?
It's because we're still quite a small company. It's easy to do with that. For some of the bigger companies I worked with, is we used to talk, we do the interviews. And a couple of companies I worked with do recorded interviews. So you get to see the initial chat with the who's going to be their line manager before they come up to our level. So you get to understand their personality as well, and see if they have a laugh and a joke. It's not a necessity, but what their personality is like. For me, one of the big things. One of the key cards for me is, would I go out for a drink with them? Would I go out for a drink with her? And could I talk to them personally, not just about work? And it's not a pass fail, but it's being able to have that build a relationship, not just a professional one as well. It gives you that good dynamic within the company, and it's got if you work in a fun place, your day goes quicker. You get more done. If you work in somewhere that's just toxic, and I've done that as well, where you just like every day it's like, I just can't wait to finish work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not so much a veto within our company. It's we get people in because of their knowledge and recommendation, and we either worked with them in the past, or we've heard good things.
Yeah. It's the culture element again, isn't it? You need to
Yeah,
be able to focus on good fit and then skills you can develop. But being the
yeah,
right
exactly that.
house, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's really interesting, the veto thing. I think I'm gonna brew about that one. I think that'll come into some businesses I'm working with, I'm sure. What about resilience? It's been a weird old time, hasn't it? Generally in the world, you've
Y-
been and done lots of different things. Is there how do you do it?
Uh, it's it's fighting the battles you can fight. If you've got control, fight what you can control, what you can manage, what you can make a change. If you can't change it, if it's out of your control, there's no point stressing about it because it's still going to be there. So fix what you can fix,
Yeah,
and then change your plan. Just stay agile. You know, fluidity is key because if you've got strategy and you've got a plan, and then all of a sudden COVID hits, or Ukraine gets invaded by Russia, or or Trump gets elected, and your priorities change, your funding streams change, your the 3 year plan that you just had that you spent like 6 weeks building and selling to the C-suite, it's just turned around and says, nah, it's not going to work now. So it's being agile and just thinking on your feet and being able to do that, and just like I say, just fix what you can fix. If you can't fix it, then it's no longer a priority for you because what can you do?
yeah,
Yeah, and one of the key things, and one thing that I always tell everyone, if everyone tells you it's a priority, and this is a priority, and this is a priority, if everything's a priority, then nothing is.
nothing
So,
is.
so then you decide what the priorities are, and then you work to them, and then you can structure yourself where you know where you see success is going to be, and how you're going to get to that end goal.
Mm,
Is you've prioritized the way you can build your own strategy because
yeah,
you've got your plan from the boss, the strategy he wants to get to, the end goal. It's up to you how you get there.
yeah, absolutely. What do you have any coping mechanisms though? From everyone gets stressed. Everyone has those days where it's just like, is this worth it? Or maybe you don't. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. But if you do,
Motorbikes.
you have, what do you do to manage those gremlins inside your head that are, saying unhelpful things?
So if my girlfriend's watching, and if people who know me watching, I go to the gym every day and I work out really hard. So what I do is I go and get my motorbike and go for a ride. But no, I get on my motorbike. I just go for a ride. 70 mile an hour, and then just and just go and see the countryside and have a think there. Because once you're on that, or go and do some DIY around the house. I'm really bad at DIY, but it just doing something where you're not having to think about it too much. All you do is measure and cut and
Yeah,
build, and then it takes my mind off all that as well. So they're my kind of coping strategies.
I like that. I've read about this. Manual repetitive actions are good
Yeah.
for that, aren't they? Taking your
Well,
mind.
we decided that because there's in the garden there was an empty summer house that just gets loads of it's like it's just if it's empty you'll fill it with stuff.
Yeah.
So I built a pub.
Built a pub.
Yeah, I built a pub in the garden.
And you're terrible at DIY and you built a pub.
Well, it's still there, and
Still
when
standing.
you're drunk, when you're drunk, it looks really straight. But
I love that. That's brilliant. Oh my God. So it's still standing. It works. It's up.
oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Oh, there's loads of scrap wood from all the DIY renovations we're doing. So I just built a pub, built a bar, put lights in, turned it into a bit of an interest room, beer fridge, wine fridge. And there you
Oh,
go.
sounds dreamy to me. I want one.
It was. Hmm.
Yeah. Sounds dreamy.
I did it in a day.
Did it in it. I need picture evidence of this. I just don't feel like it's sturdy just from your description.
I'll send it. I've been drunk leaning against it, and it's still up. So
Okay. Good to know. Yeah, we'll supply photographic evidence after the podcast, sure. Okay, what is 5 years? Are you showing any signs of right, what's next? Like what is the plan once you've got to where you want to get to with this business?
So luckily with life, every day's different. So every project's a so what.
Okay.
So it's always a new client. There's always a new project that I want to do, and every client wants something different. So it's a very agile company where I get that, scratch that itch for change. It's not just about defense, it's about energy. It's not about energy, it's about supply chain. It's about, and
Yeah.
even if it's just, we need to find some steel, or, some of our steel's gone missing. Can you go and help find that? And then there's all the NGO work. So there's lots of stuff that we can do, whether it's advising, chatting to the Department of Business and Trade, or chatting to the Defence Select Committee, or if it's just chatting to one of the communications companies saying, right, we want to fit a few radios within the police cars out there. Can you help? Or, we want to set up a workshop in Poland, and, every day is different. So,
Yeah.
and, I realize the frustration as well, because the amount of times that you go, yeah, we're going to work with you, and then nothing happens, and it's trying to stay positive from that as well. That's another difficult thing.
Yeah.
Is trying to keep that, positive mental, because not everyone wants to, wants to work with you, and there's competition out there, and the like. So it's just trying to stay positive when the projects don't land, which, because that's one big thing I've learned as well, is when you're in the army, you get given a mission, you go and do the mission, you go and you deliver. There's never a competition to say who's going to get that job. You've just been given that job. It's simple. You've got a project, you deliver it, and every day it's a deliverable. But when you move into civilian sector, it's you're competing for the same sandwiches, as someone once said to me. You're stealing my sandwiches. Well, we're not. It's you're competing as well, and it's if you don't get it, soldiers don't like to fail. No one in the army likes to fail, or the Air Force, or I assume the Navy. But it's kind of you want to achieve, and when you don't get it, you're like, why didn't I get it? What have I done wrong? It's trying to stay positive of that, and not beat yourself up, which I still do.
Yeah, you do that quite a lot then, I imagine, because
Hell,
you can't win
I hate losing.
everything.
I hate losing. I hate not getting my way.
Yeah, yeah.
It's what drives us.
How do you cope with that though when you do lose?
Slag them off on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
No, no, I go on to the next thing. We have a chat. We do an after action review. Do a learning account. What could we have done differently? And if there's nothing there that you could have done differently, then you just put it in the didn't win file, and then move onto the next one. Always have a couple of projects lined
Always,
up where you can
always on to
do.
the next thing. Always looking
Yeah,
forward. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a good lesson there, definitely.
yeah.
Okay. Imagine you've got a person. I'm going to bring it back to the alchemy theme because I have to. Imagine you've got a personal alchemy formula for success. What is the one ingredient that you couldn't do without, and why?
Drive.
Drive.
The want to win.
The want to win.
Yeah.
Do you think you're born with that?
Tim?
Do you think you're born with that?
No, I just sort of coasted as a kid. I mean, I did all the clubs. I went to Air Cadets as well, which was mad because I joined the army. But it was more of a trying to make friends, and that and when I first joined the army, it was about just making it through basic training. It's always the so what, make it through basic training. Now what? Make it through trade training. Now what? Get to my first unit. Don't mess up. Now what? Mess up. How am I going to fix it?
Yeah.
I mean, my first few weeks at my first unit after I passed. This is why Tom was such a legend. I managed to crash my car. I crashed one of the trucks into a building and ended up holding the whole building up with the truck, with the armored personnel carrier.
Oh my God.
Because I thought I could drive it and I couldn't. I managed to there's lots of hijinks involved, and it was this. And then it was time to grow up a little bit from that. So it's now I've stopped messing up. What's next? I want to get promoted. Right, what am I going to do? I'm going to get I need to do this course. So the drive instilled me when I joined the army. Before the army, it wasn't so much. And once I got the taste of being successful and being good at what I do, or being able to cover it so it looked like I was good at what I can do, is is be the next, and be the best you can. And now I'm out. But also be someone that so it's I don't know if it's shallowness or it's what, but I care what people think about me as well. Some people don't care. They don't. I don't care if he doesn't like me. I just want to be success. But I want, I like that I get on with most people as well. So
Yeah.
I don't do it through arrogance or through, yes, I want to achieve, but I don't want to upset people on the way as well. So I want to be that guy that people want to go to and chat to, who'll like to go for a pint with, rather than just being that. That's very important to me, because some people that are a bit within industry are just, they're so focused on themselves and being a success, they forget about all the others,
Yeah.
including the team.
Yeah.
So, and my team's always the most important thing to me.
I love that. Wise words. Wise words.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think we'll leave that there with those nuggets of wisdom.